The Fantasy Six-Pack Hour. With your hosts, Joe Bond.
You're awful.
And AJ Applegarth.
It's Sin Shu Chu. It's a mouthful.
All right. Welcome to the Fantasy Six-Pack Hour. My name is Joe Bond, founder of FantasySixPack.net. With me, as usual, Mr. AJ Applegarth. What is up, man?
A lot.
All right.
Per usual.
Alrighty. Hope everybody had a good Christmas week, good holiday week. We got New Year's on the way, so Happy New Year to everybody coming up here. We are doing this show a little early this week on Wednesday instead of Thursday, so thanks for tuning in. So no game to be announcing of anything about, but we do have unfortunate news, I suppose, if we want to start out the show this way, and it's John Madden, rest in peace, man, died at the age of 85 yesterday. I don't know what to say, but this news shocked everybody. Kind of came out of nowhere, as far as we know, he wasn't sick, that kind of thing, so it was just kind of sudden. But, this guy was a legend. Legendary coach, legendary broadcaster, and, the Madden football games. I like my childhood, basically, like all of my football is built around Madden, watching Fox and, everything, and then playing countless hours of Madden football when I was a kid. That voice, boom, right? That's all you got, right? It's just... he was such a face for the game and kind of helped make it as popular as it is, with the video games, really, honestly, probably more than than a lot of things, But yeah, it really sucks to hear this news. It was right after the All Madden team, I think, got announced, or maybe that hasn't been announced yet, but I think there was a documentary on the NFL Network that went out just a couple of days ago. Yeah, man, sad news to start the show with, but definitely want to pay our respects to John Madden and everything he's done for this game for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Legend is passed us by, unfortunately. Rest in peace, John.
All right, guys. So before we get going, just want to remind you guys to hit that subscribe button, that follow button, give us those ratings. On YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, wherever you listen and watch, we appreciate your support. And without further ado, AJ, let's do our beer of the week.
Beer.
You know what? I'm gonna go first. I just like mine. I'm excited to do this one. So mine is from Black Flag Brewing. Sorry, I gotta drink. It's it's overflowing almost. It's weird. It's literally about to spill. So if I turn it, I was afraid to dump it on my keyboard. But anyway, it's Black Flag Brewing Company plus Firm. I don't know, PHERM. It's Let the Haze Flow Through You, and the can art is fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's a hazy IPA, 7.1%. I think I gave this one 3 3/4. It's not the best one I've had. It's just a pretty typical IPA, but it's pretty tasty. It's something I would get again, if I saw it in a restaurant or something like that. But the can art, obviously, because I'm a big Star Wars nerd, I had to get this one. So
yes,
I like it.
Yes, indeed. So I myself am drinking a loner that I picked up from one of the local places here. It's just a weird triple dry hopped with Nelson Sauvon, Wandering into the Fog.
Oh, that's good can art too. I like that.
Double, yeah. It's simple, but it gets the job done.
Right.
Double IPA here. This is from
Nice.
Abomination Brewing Co. And it's triple dry hopped. Whatever Nelson Sauvon is, it's pretty tasty. I like it. I haven't rated it yet. I'm gonna keep getting through this one, and then figure it out. So yeah, indeed. Cheers.
Cool. Cheers, man. All right, so we've got our last read of the year here, man. So if you guys missed the boat on Christmas, or your significant other missed the boat on Christmas, go ahead and do yourselves a favor, guys, and get yourselves your own present here. Grab some of yourself some Manscaped. AJ usually does these, but I'm just gonna beat him to it. Manscaped here. This is the real deal, guys. I've honestly used other products in the nether regions before, and they do not live up to the hype, which is real, of the Manscaped Lawnmower 4.0. It's quiet, so when you're doing your business down there, nobody really has to know. It's quiet.
Don't want to be waking up anyone else in the house,
right?
Or shaving your particulars.
And yeah, no snag, no nothing, man. So there's no. Oh damn! There's none of that. It's a very nice product, and it doesn't stop here. AJ, I mean, you've usually got all the other products behind you. What else they got, man?
I still do. I got them. I still got my Christmas tree lit here. Like that. Well, if I can turn around the right way here. We've got the body wash here. This is one of their brand new ultra premium body wash. Brand new product. We got the 2-in-1 shampoo conditioner. You got this little friend here, crop cleanser. This one's one of my favorites, actually. I don't know why. I just really like this one. It's the gentle groin wash. But it's like, I like to get my soap on. I usually do my shampoo first. Shampoo conditioner. So I'm killing two birds right there. And then get my body wash on. And then after I'm done with the body wash, I come back in with a little groin wash. And it's a nice little finishing touch there. Free the boys up for the day.
Absolutely.
But I mean, like you said, man, New Year's is coming up. We'll be looking to get into some new talk with maybe some new grooming methods. But yeah, new year, new you. You know that you got checks for Christmas from relatives that you weren't able to see or whatnot. Cash out those checks, dump out your Venmo, use our promo code here. You get 20% off, free shipping, F6P20. That is the letter F, the number 6, the letter P, and the numbers 2 and 0.
Yeah.
Awesome deal here, guys. Go ahead and do it. Your balls will thank you, and your woman will thank you, especially because she dropped the balls.
Yeah, and the links and the code and stuff will be in any of the show notes that we post wherever you're listening and watching too. So if you don't grab it here, then check for it there. So, all right, man. So we have finally made it. Week 17, championship week.
Yeah. Some of us did not.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. We will get to those later. But start off here with some news and notes heading into week 17 here. And got to start with the big bomb drop, man, from the NFL and, really the CDC as well, right? The CDC went out and changed their rules from 10 days of quarantine to 5. So the NFL, what they do, they just went out and did it. And look, I mean, I get the reason for doing it, but I don't know. My personal opinion with it is that it actually is a unfair advantage to the teams that didn't get ravaged by COVID, right? And look, maybe they never would have, but you think about it, right? Think of teams like the Browns or even the Ravens got pretty beat up by it. A bunch of teams, right? They got beat up by it and had to play games with players that normally wouldn't have played. And it affected playoff races. And so now it's possible that a player could get COVID on Friday or on Monday, right? A guy that we're going to talk about, Carson Wentz, right? He could clear by this weekend. and still play the game. To where if this had happened last week, and if Wentz wasn't vaccinated, which I don't believe he is, he's out.
Not.
He's absolutely out. So I think, just like we do in fantasy leagues, right? Like, you don't change the rules mid-season unless it's like, oh, our bad, we screwed up, right? Or something like that, right? Like, you go into the league, you go into the season with the rules and the expectations already set. And everybody has to play by those rules. And the NFL didn't do that. And, I know they kind of already sort of like changed it to where they were like, oh, we're not going to postpone games, but then they did. Like, look, I mean, had they not postponed a game, like the Raiders and Browns game literally wouldn't have happened. So, like, that's how stupid that was.
Eagles Redskins game probably wouldn't have happened.
Yeah,
either.
I mean, or it would have happened with like third stringers, like on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
Like it would have been stupid. So, like, so I sort of don't mind that one as much. Like it allowed more players to get on the field and allow the game to actually happen. But in this case, like, those games were still affected by COVID because of the 10-day rule, right? And now it's down to 5. So I don't know. I don't really like that the NFL did this. Like, look, maybe in the playoffs, that's when you go, okay, fine, reset. Now we'll do 5 days because everybody's playing by the same rules, right? But, and the teams that made the playoffs are the teams that made the playoffs, kind of fresh slate. Maybe do the start of the 5-day rule in the playoffs. That would have been the way I probably would have gone about it. But I'm not the commissioner of the NFL, so I don't make those rules. But I don't know, man. What are your thoughts on this?
I don't really like it, honestly. And I think it's, as a Wentz, fan of sorts for years when he was in Philly. And then, I staled on him like everybody else. But I really like what he was doing this year for Indy, mostly because it helps Philly get a draft pick. But this whole thing with him not even being vaccinated, I mean, that kind of surprised the hell out of me to begin with. I always saw him. He was always one of the first people with the mask on and this and that. So I don't, whatever. I'm not going to judge him for his choice in the matter. But I just think that this whole thing is really hurting teams that are fighting to get into the playoffs more so. And it just goes back to the same thing with the NFL, that they're going to do what they want. They're going to play by their own rules. They're going to, they want to put the best product that they can on the field.
They're just so inconsistent with the rules, man. Like, this is going back, and I know what you're saying, like with suspensions and things like that. Like, they're not consistent with anything, and it's super frustrating. And I know as much as like this doesn't I know fantasy football is a secondary, maybe even then some, like, thought in their mind. Probably not at all. But I mean, like, look, this directly affected fantasy leagues as well. And, like, we'll get to some of this, but think about how many players would have cleared a 5-day protocol that didn't get to play, that directly affected fantasy leagues. And I mean, look, I was affected by it, like last week we saw Kelsey and them, like, just barely missed getting pulled off the protocol. Like, had Kelsey played last week, I guarantee we would have seen a vastly different championship week than in a lot of leagues, because he was
probably be in the championship in one of my leagues.
Yeah, right. And you're not alone. We've got some stories that we're going to share later with some people, just kind of venting stories that I wanted to get from guys, just to be something fun. But yeah, I mean, like, I don't want to harp on this too much, but the NFL screwed up here. And I mean, like, I know they're just following the CDC guidelines and whatever, but there's a way to go around it here. And it's not, it wasn't this. Yeah. They needed to be smarter than this. And, yeah. So, and I mean, but right here, my friend, good friend Bob Dole here, man, with 15-1, lost in the semifinals. COVID took Hill and Cook from me. I mean, there you go. I mean, and again, those players in a 5-day window, 100% could have, been cleared and it would have made a huge difference for him. And so, again, we've got some stories like that later that we're going to share, but I want to move on here to the next set of news, and shocking news. Not only is Darrell Henderson on the IR, that sucks, but honestly, he's been kind of passed by Sony Michel on that backfield anyway for the Rams. But Cam Akers has been activated and might actually play this week. What are your thoughts on this backfield, AJ? Week 17. Is this the all Sony Michel show, or are you like legit worried that Akers is going to be a factor here?
I don't necessarily think he'll be a factor. I think he'll be a thorn in the side of Michel. I think they want to get him in and get him some game action before the playoffs. With Henderson going on the IR, obviously. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Michel's played pretty well as of late, and
fresh legs, man. He's barely been used.
Well, exactly. It annoys the hell out of me because I picked him up early, as a late round flyer for running back, and he didn't do anything, so I dropped him in every league that I owned him in.
Well, of course. I mean, he's averaging 3 points in the first 10 weeks. Why wouldn't you drop him?
Okay, I don't need this, and then boom, here he is. Great, thanks.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
what happened was no,
yeah, I can't imagine, that they're just going to all of a sudden take the ball away from Michel and give it back to Cam Akers after this injury that is a brutal injury, as you know from personal experience. And
I'm no NFL player, but they suck to come back from. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, and he's coming back. Usually they don't come back in, until the beginning, possibly partially into the next season. And here he is.
I mean, he did it early. He did it.
He was early enough.
He did it in the preseason, so he was going to be back easily by next year. The thing you don't see is a guy coming back the same season.
No,
I mean, this is a 7 to 9 month recovery usually. Not to be able to like walk or even run, but to be able to do, cuts and jumps and that sort of thing. It's a lengthy recovery. Now, granted, he's in physical therapy every single day, probably lots of heavy physical therapy. I was in physical therapy like twice a week for like 30 minutes. Like, I mean, totally different. I mean, my job isn't to get better on the football field, right? So it's a totally different story. But I don't think Cam Akers is going to be is enough of a thorn for me to shy away from Sony Michel this week. I think it's Sony Michel.
I'm not shying away from him.
And I'm not even
going to be annoying.
I'm not even thinking about using Cam Akers this week in fantasy league. No. So those of you that picked him up, cool. I guess you can be, the guy that said, "Oh yeah, I picked him up," but yeah, you're not using him, and you shouldn't. Even if you're decimated by running back injuries, which a lot of people are, there are a lot of other backup running backs that I would much rather start over Cam Akers. I'm sorry, I would even rather start Madison over Cam Akers, even with Dalvin Cook coming off COVID. Like, it's just not going to happen. So, next here is we've got Carson Wentz landing on COVID, as I alluded to earlier. Now, he could clear, but let's just play the game, right? If he doesn't clear in time, what does this look like for the rest of the offense? And really, there's only 2 players that people care about on this offense. 1 is Jonathan Taylor. 2 is Michael Pittman. So let's start here with Jonathan Taylor.
Also Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah. What does this do for Jonathan Taylor's value in this week? Like, are you I think everybody's starting him, right? That's not the question. But is it are we now a little worried that Vegas could just stack the box and just go, okay, beat us to the air, we're gonna put 8 guys in the box all game and then just beat us, man? Erlinger or whatever the hell his name is, right? Good luck, right? Or is it Jonathan Taylor is going to see so much work because the Colts aren't going to rely on the passing game. That is not going to matter anyway.
I'm not overly worried about JT. I mean, even if they do stack the box against him, which they're going to, it's gonna cause two outcomes in my mind. One, on all the running plays that he's going to get, he's eventually just going to break through. But two, it could give them an upside in sacks, because of the pressure they're going to be putting on QB there. But who the hell is the QB going to be dumping the ball off to when all those guys are running at him and he's scared shitless? JT.
Well, you say this, man, but he's not used in the passing game at all.
He's not.
Maybe that's
usually
a Carson Wentz thing, but I don't know if that changes much. I mean, maybe it does. I mean,
then,
week 12
Hines
and earlier,
gets a
it
bit of a
was
boost
decent.
for that, but
perhaps
maybe we're going to see more two-back sets here too.
Yeah.
With Hines and JT in the backfield for that main purpose.
Yeah. It's not like JT can't do it. I mean, like I was saying,
no,
from week 1 to week 12, he saw, 7. I'm just taking the higher numbers. So 7 targets, 4 targets, 8 5s, then a couple 3s and 2s mixed in. Those were his target shares, caught a good majority of those. And then just because they were just running him they were running him 30 times a game, they decided, we're not going to give you the ball in the air anymore. Which, smart, but he's just been killing it. They're just trying to get in the rushing title. And they realize this is their best chance of winning. But yeah, it's...
Yeah.
I think what's going to happen is they're still going to give him the ball around 30 times. And, the Vegas defense isn't good. So I think he's still going to do very, very well. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to look up the last few games for teams running against Vegas. Now, Denver didn't do very well last week, but that doesn't necessarily have anything to. That doesn't necessarily have anything to do with. They still had Williams and they still had Gordon, but but
neither one was really 100% in my mind. And they're like, Lock, okay.
True Lock is awful. But again, that could be the concern,
the game
right?
plan, or that could be the script for Vegas.
Well, in week 15,
we did it last week.
Yeah, in week 15,
let's do the same damn thing.
Yeah, week 15, Nick Chubb played well against them. In week 14, Edwards-Helaire and Derek Gore did well. And I think Derek Gore had a long touchdown run at the end of that game. They were getting smashed. Gibson did well against them in week 13. Pollard and Zeke did, their split back thing, combined. They did good. Joe Mixon did well before that. So, this team is not good against the running backs.
Easy to run on.
I think Jonathan Taylor can still have a very, very good game. Again, I would never consider sitting him. It was just a question of, does this limit his ceiling? Maybe. I'm not so sure it does. I still think I'm okay with him as my number one running back this week in my rankings. So,
yeah. I think if anything, maybe it bumps his floor up. Honestly,
it might bump his floor up for sure. It might limit his ceiling ever so slightly. But all it takes is for him to bust out another. Come on, that one game where we thought he wasn't going to do that great, he still had over 100 yards, and then the last play of the game, 65-yard run. You're like, great.
Yeah.
All right, next topic here. We've got Jimmy G injured. I think it's a sprained UCL or something like that. Something with hands, thumb. So now we are very, very likely to see Trey Lance starting for the 49ers the rest of the season, by the way, and into the playoffs if they make it. But we are worried, for fantasy football purposes, we are worried about this week. So Trey Lance, as we have seen in the past, not exactly the greatest quarterback for fantasy when it comes to the other players on his team. Now, he does okay, right? 20 points, 14 points in his 2 starts this year. Solid.
Yeah, bad.
But the players around him, in weeks 4 and 5, just not getting the job done. So how worried are you with? I'm actually trying to pull up. My computer's not cooperating with me right now. Now, how worried would you be with, Debo and Kittle and say Mitchell or Wilson, whichever one actually gets the start here? Like, which?
I mean, I'm not that interested in the running game in general over in San Fran.
If Mitchell plays, man, Mitchell was a beast.
Yeah.
Wilson's been good
mean,
the last couple of weeks, by the way.
Yeah, but
I will say this: Debo in week 4 had 27 points.
Yeah.
Debo in week 5 had 13. Really, nobody else was much of anything. But at that point, I want to say they had not really turned it over to Elijah Mitchell. He had 43 rushing yards in week 5. They were still using Trey Sermon here and there in week 4.
What a failed experiment that was.
And Kittle at that point, I believe he was either hurt or got hurt.
He wasn't playing well. I mean,
he played in week 4. He must have gotten hurt in week 4 and then did not play in week 5. So, I don't really know what to think of Kittle, but I'm really worried about this passing offense with him there. Debo could actually still be decent because obviously they're just running the ball with him a ton. I mean, even back then, he was catching these short slant routes and just running for 70 yards with them. So that's what he did in week 4.
Yeah, I'm not really worried about Debo. I'm not really that worried about Kittle. I mean, I would cap his ceiling a little bit lower. I mean, he has been blowing up lately, so
he slowed down, but teams have focused on him a little more. Hey, we need to have this guy Kittle over here, guys.
Yeah, they're like, oh yeah, this guy's really good. We should probably focus on him a little bit.
Yeah, about
but yeah, I still think that San Fran's they're gonna find a way to get everybody involved.
Mm-hmm.
And the nice thing with Lance, I feel like he's way more mobile than Jimmy G.
Well, of course.
So
yes.
that's only going
obvious. Thanks, yes. Captain Obvious.
Hey, I'm doing my best Madden.
That's like saying Lamar Jackson's more mobile than Tom Brady. Come on.
Is he though? I mean,
yeah, maybe just a little.
Can he catch as well as Tom? Oh wait,
not those 1-yard sneaks, man.
Never mind. Sorry, Tom.
That was a
Super Bowl catch that never was. Suck it.
We did not play in that one, guys. I promise.
I will take that 1 to your 57. I don't care. Yeah, I mean, whatever. It's Trey Lance. I'm not excited, but
I think so. Here's another question, right?
Really, yeah, but I don't really think many people. Yeah, I mean, nobody's really going to be starting Trey Lance this week.
You sure about that? Think about this. Okay, people I guarantee have gotten into the championship, especially this year, with a less than stellar quarterback, right? This year I'm saying the teams who have had Josh Allen, teams who have had Tom Brady, right?
I had Mahomes. My team sucked.
Mahomes, right? Mahomes was killing you earlier in the year, right? You might not have gotten there with him, right? Let's just say you don't have an Allen or a Brady or a Mahomes or something like that, right? I'll throw out some scenarios for you. Trey Lance versus Houston, by the way. Just keep that in mind. Do you play him over Joe Burrow, who just threw for 500.5 yards, who plays Kansas City?
No.
All right. How about Lamar against the Rams? And Lamar has been...
Yes.
Okay.
I would there because Baltimore just in general.
How about a Kyler Murray who's been struggling bad? I got you with that one, right?
Oh, that's tough. That one is...
I don't think I do, but that is super close.
See, it's
and they're playing
in Dallas. If it was in Arizona, I would feel better about going with
Hasn't
Kyler.
mattered, honestly.
No, it hasn't. But I mean, for Dallas's sake, because I feel like Dallas has been worse on the road.
Yeah.
But
think about this. Like, I guarantee you there's some teams that have made it to the finals with quarterbacks like, they're streaming quarterbacks, right? They're streaming Tua and Carr and Tannehills and, Cousins and things like that. Like, are you playing Trey Lance over Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, Ryan Tannehill, Tua, Justin Fields? Like, these are guys that people have been swapping in and out. I guarantee it. In some league somewhere, this has been happening. And I kind of think I do. He's got that rushing floor where it's just
maybe.
So, like, again, I think this is the situation where, look, if you've got Dak, Rodgers, Stafford, Hurts, Mahomes, Brady, Allen, you're using those guys. They got you there. You're using those guys. Even Herbert. Murray's that kind of tipping point for me, and then like Burrow and Lamar, like that's sort of like where he fits in my opinion.
Yeah, Burrow's tough for me. I don't think I can put him ahead of him, even though KC's defense has been ridiculous.
They've been really good, and Burrow,
so good lately, but
Burrow's been really good. He's not going to do what he did last week for sure.
No, but I still think he's got a better upside.
I actually disagree. I actually think Burrow's got the safer floor, and Trey Lance has the bigger upside with the rushing.
Yeah, I was going to say he has the bigger upside in my mind for the continuity and the consistency that he's shown. But I agree that it is a safer floor, and maybe that's why I'd still rather stick with him. But
you are risking a lot in championship week starting Trey Lance, but I don't think it's a horrible decision. If you've been streaming quarterbacks, then you do it. So
Trey Lance season. Let's go. Tell you whose season it not is isn't whatever. James Robinson.
Right.
Man, this guy just can't catch a break,
dude.
Or Kenny. Because first it was, the urban treatment, and then we were talking him up and ready to go with him. And I don't actually have James Robinson on any of my rosters this year.
I had him in Scott Fish.
So if I talked about him, it shouldn't have affected him like this, because
it's always your fault. What are you talking about?
Any shares, but
it's always
he's on the IR. Shocker. So I guess his name somehow came out of my mouth, and the voodoo that I do has happened. And now we got Ogunbowale.
We talked about him last week because of the DFS picks.
Yeah.
And he got hurt on like the third play of the game. So sorry.
Yeah.
He was a super popular play.
Ooh, did I put him? No. See, I think that was you, because I did all my.
I didn't actually play DFS last week, so I can get suggestions, but I didn't play. So yeah, Ogunbowale.
Yep, that's me.
Next man up,
James Robinson. I had him as a smash play, even though he's only 5,900.
Yeah, so it was your fault.
No, maybe that wasn't me. I don't think I added him in there. I think you did.
It's always your fault, AJ. Anyway,
whatever.
So yeah, Ogunbowale. Look, he did well last week. Am I loving him potentially having to be in my lineup in championship week? No, because he's very unknown, raw. He played for Tampa, and then obviously just made his way onto Jacksonville somehow, and just find himself into a role. Look again. He played well last week. 17 carries, 57 yards. Fell into the end zone. That was the Jets. And come on, think about it, man. We've talked about this time and time again on the show, and especially last week with Dave Eddy here, how bad the Jets are against the run. So yeah, he saw success against the absolute worst team against the run for fantasy purposes. Could he do it again though this week? New England. And when you first think that, you're going, no, right?
Nope.
You want to hear how bad the Patriots have been against the run this year?
Sure.
They allowed 16.3 fantasy points. This is half PPR to Devin Singletary. They obviously got thrashed by Jonathan Taylor, just like everybody did. I'm skipping the Bills game in Week 13 because nobody did anything in that game. Tennessee, they allowed 19.8 to Hilliard and 11.7 to Foreman. They allowed 19.2 to Dearness Johnson. I mean, they're getting pretty beat up against the run. Now, look, Jacksonville isn't even as good as those teams, but I mean, they're allowing some pretty hefty points, honestly. And so I'm not totally off of it.
Jacksonville doesn't have an air game. So
yeah, but I'm still not totally off of it though. Like again, this is a desperation.
Playing.
Look,
Yeah.
this is a desperate.
This is...
I'm going to be completely honest with you here. I am starting a Gumawale in my championship game against Mr. Scott Simpson. Nimble with numbers, it's going down.
If it was me in that matchup,
you also
would you
know
have started him.
Yes, I would have had to.
Any other running backs?
Aaron Jones. That's it. So you want to know why I'm starting him? This is why. So my running backs on that team, because I have lost everybody, it feels like, on that team. And even if I drafted a running back, they busted. I mean, Aaron Jones even is kind of busted, right? So I'm starting him over Freeman. I could potentially throw in Jordan Howard, but like right now he's questionable. So like I don't know, but even that sort of scares me. But I think if Howard is healthy, I think I might make that swap. But then I got Duke Johnson and Rex Burkhead. Like, yeah, these are my guys. Like, what? That's what I'm looking at, man.
If I would have played Burkhead instead of Kelsey last week, I would be in the championship in that game.
But nobody expects 27.9 points out of Rex Burkhead.
I didn't even need that out of him. I needed like half of that. I maybe needed a third of that.
I don't even expect,
because I got a 0
out
of freaking Kelsey for sitting in my lineup because I'm a dumbass. I don't like holiday weekends and football. I just think it's a bad idea for me, at least.
No. You can take 10 seconds and go,
no,
kid, sorry. Lego's got to wait for 10 seconds. Daddy's got to check a fantasy lineup. Click. And
you know what I did? You know what I did? I took about 30 minutes to actually take a nap on Christmas.
See? Improper use of time.
Nope.
Anyway.
Who are you talking to? Of course. Proper use of time. You look it up in the dictionary and there's a picture of me.
Anyway, look, again, I don't mind Ogunabowale that much this week it's more of a desperation play. Like, look, if you're in a situation like I am, I might do it because, again, New England can get beat on the ground, and the Jaguars, if anything, like that's the one thing they do fairly well is run the ball. So like, why not? You know, Freeman's gotten 6 carries the last 2 weeks. I don't want to use him. Howard is like, again, sort of. Rex Burkhead is like, no, I'm not. Like, I only picked him up to block Scott from getting another decent running back this week because he lost James Robinson, by the way. Yes. So we traded all the waiver pickups. So I picked up Ogunabowale. He picked up Boston Scott, who was my number 2 pickup, and then I picked up Rex Burkhead, who I'm pretty sure was his 3. And I already had Howard, so that was already like whatever. So we're just trading, we're just blocking each other because we're both desperate for running backs. It's pretty funny.
There's going to be a team that wins a championship this week with Trey Lance, Cam Akers.
No, not Cam Akers.
Ogunbowale
out of here.
And then like Debo and some other stuff.
Oh yes, this year has been totally goofy, as we've mentioned.
That's how it's gonna
COVID
work.
and all the injuries have just piled up and made things bad. Bob has already mentioned it. Bob Dole. I just love saying it that way.
Yeah, he was
mentioned-
undefeated until
this
last
is
week.
insane.
And
So
he went 15-1. So
yeah. So let's get into some of these.
Feel your pain, Bob.
Speaking of desperation plays, right? There are fantasy managers out there that are picking up players like an Agunabowale, right? And thinking hard about starting these guys. I know they are, because I'm one of them, because my team has been decimated. And honestly, I legit did not have, come week 14, first week of the playoffs, or week 15, sorry, when I made it and I was playing Jeff Lambert, who was the number 2 overall scoring team in this league of ours, AJ. I was like, there's no chance. And then I get to the next week and I'm playing
the number 1 seed.
The number 1 seed, who was clearly the number 1 seed. I was like, I'm out again. And I win.
Was the
I'm
number
like,
2 seed and lost to him and then like 3 other people.
Yeah. So
at least.
I want to go out here and talk about some of these, week 17. I'm calling them dart throws. Just these guys that players are picking up and just maybe thinking about it. And I'm going to start here with Rex Burkhead, who I mentioned, who got the 22 carries for 100 and some yards and 2 touchdowns against the Chargers, who are also very bad against the run, by the way.
Yeah. Yes, they are.
So, yeah, they allow the third most points to running backs. So, like, here's my thing with him. Like, this week, Houston plays... I should have just kept up my sleeper roster to figure that one out. They play San Fran.
Yeah, we already talked about this.
Oh, yeah, you're right. So, we're kind of in the middle of the pack, right? They're allowing about 17 points to running backs. Yeah, sorry. I don't know. With David Johnson out, and I literally don't know who else they're using on that team. Why am I blanking on who else they have? Because the team sucks.
Don't have anybody.
Yikes.
Royce Freeman.
Royce Freeman. Yeah, I was just gonna say, is that it?
It was like it was somebody I just picked up.
Was there somebody else that they had at one point, and I'm just blanking on who the hell they had?
They had Phil Lindsay at one point. And then
that's right. That's right. That's who it was.
They also had Mark Ingram. They traded him back to the Saints.
Who's on Miami? And by the way, Phil Lindsay has the best hair. The super fro, man. That thing's awesome. Anyway, Rex Burkhead. Yeah, amazing game. But let's be real. This is not happening again. I'm not trusting that at all. It's super desperation move for me if you're starting Rex Burkhead. I've got him kind of outside into the almost outside of flex range, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't have a problem throwing him in a flex spot if you have 2.
Right, yeah,
if
you
got
have
2, 1 flex and 3 receivers, it'd be tough. Depending on who else you have.
Yeah, I just don't see it.
I don't hate it, but I don't think he's not going to put up what he did last week.
No,
but
I mean, you think about it, like even against the Jags, right? The week before he saw 16 carries, 41 yards. The week before, 11 carries for 40 yards. Like he's getting the work, and he hasn't produced to anything. I mean, even in week 12, he saw 12 carries for 27 yards. That was the Jets, and we're talking about how bad the Jets are. So like this was just like the weird game. This is the Duke Johnson game for him.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that sticks out to me is the fact that he had, the past 2 weeks against Jacksonville and then the Chargers, his snap percent was basically the same, 64 against the Jags, and he only rushed 16 times for 41. and then 62% against the Chargers, and he gets 6 more carries and somehow manages 108 plus yards.
Oh yeah,
and the 2 tutties. So
you're chasing points, in my opinion, if you start Burkhead.
At that point.
And see, that's the difference between him and Ogunbowale, right? Like Ogunbowale, like he's coming into a new role that could produce better points, and strangely enough, it's a better run matchup for them. Both pretty terrible teams.
But you also have to look at the fact that Cooks was not there last week.
That's true. That is true. Which actually you kind of would think that would actually hurt him.
Yeah.
Because they would stack the box. But I don't know. The Chargers just decided not to play defense last week, which was weird.
He was able to make it work. So I don't hate him as a dart throw. I would not be expecting last week's stats. I'd be expecting more closer to maybe what he did against Seattle, like at the 11 for 40 or something.
I think
maybe
he'll probably
finds an end zone.
I think he'll find
the end zone. But
I think he'll probably get somewhere in the teens of touches here. But
yeah,
I
think he's going to be.
The production after that is just not going to work. Next guy here
15-ish points
is Darrel Williams. Now I know we talked about Derek Gore a little bit before the show, but what do we think about Darrel Williams this week as an actual dart throw play? Somebody who probably, I don't even know if he was dropped in a lot of leagues, but if he was able to be picked up, or if you had him stashed on your bench, like, are you looking at starting him this week because Edwards-Helaire is gone?
Yeah, I don't hate it. I mean, I had Darrel Williams as a handcuff for CEH in Scott Fish forever. And I think I dropped him the week before CEH actually got injured, and somebody else scooped him up, and then I didn't have a running back. So that was awesome. But yeah, I mean his snap share has kind of been all over the place. Granted,
I mean that's with Helaire coming in
the way
it
has been, but I mean even where it's been lately has been similar to what he did earlier in the year. I mean, he didn't do a whole lot at that point. I mean, he really didn't do a whole lot last week, but he still managed 12.5 points. 55 yards rushing and then 3 receptions for 3 yards. Ooh.
It's funny. Derek Gore was actually the guy who out-touched him.
That's a full PPR though. So yeah, I mean I think Gore is probably the better play.
Which is weird to say, but I've still got Williams ranked higher because I think he's going to be trusted more from Andy Reid. So I think he's going to get the start. He's going to see the lion's share of the carries there. But I mean, look, Andy Reid's done it before. If Derek Gore gets hot, then he's gonna lean on him, right?
Yeah.
But again, we're expecting Kelsey back. Hill's gonna be there. They're not gonna go through the running game. They just never do. And in the last 5 games, by the way, the Bengals have the 29th best team against the run, allowing only 11.7 half PPR points. Now, some of those have been blowouts. Obviously, the Baltimore game was a complete blowout. Denver wasn't a blowout, but nobody could do anything in that game. It was just a weird one. San Fran, say what you will, it's just a weird game. Eckler did okay, but other than that, it's not much. Really, ever since week 9, nobody's really done much of anything outside of Eckler against the Bengals in the running game. So, it looks like it's shaping up to be a tougher matchup for the Kansas City running game, and they're going to probably go through the air, which they should. That's obviously how they're built anyway, so it just kind of fits for them. Next guy up here is really just his Eagles backfield in general. So As I mentioned with with me and Scott, we sort of started trading running back blocks, and I already had Howard, so he went out and got Scott. But obviously, there's Gainwell out there too. Look, as the resident Eagles fan here, as you're wearing the shirt, who do you trust at it? Let's say all three are healthy. Who is your guy this week?
I don't know. I said the same thing last week. It's like, if all three are healthy, I think Howard's going to get more of the run game, and Scott and Gainwell could potentially split receptions, or it could go one or the other. Like they could just phase one of them out altogether. And, it's not like a 30-30, or 33-33-33 split here. It's just going to be a weird week. And I think they're going to play the hot hand, honestly. I mean, if Gainwell gets out there and starts making some plays in open space, whether it's running or catching, I think he might end up being the go-to guy. It really just depends on Hurts and what he's going to do.
Mm-hmm. Hurts, by the way, needs to start playing first half football. So tired of
he does.
Crap. I really need him to not put up negative points in the first half.
I mean, and he had a pretty solid game against Washington a couple weeks ago.
Yes, he did. That was like the one time that he didn't do that.
Yeah. I mean, he's still he fumbled twice and lost one, but he still had 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Which seems almost par for the course for him, because there was a tweet I saw, earlier this year or something. That's like, well, whatever, we're going to start Jalen Hurts and he's going to suck and then still somehow end up with 26 points or something. It was something along that, or 20 plus points.
Sounds about right. It's been
what
he does.
And it is. It's ridiculous.
It's kind of what I've been going with all year. He's like the running, Ryan Fitzpatrick quarterback, style.
Yeah, I mean,
kind of is.
The only team to really stifle him this year was the Giants.
It almost did it twice. I thought it was going to happen again.
Almost did it twice.
Like,
that's what I know. I was like,
this.
Why am I even watching this game? Like, this is just ridiculous. And then it just started getting ridiculous in the other direction. I was like, all right, I don't need to watch any more of this game. That and Detroit. That was his worst games of the year.
They played down
on the road. Yeah, I mean, he really did.
Yeah. So for me, just to sum this up here real quick, for me, I think it's Jordan Howard. I think they're going to lean on him in the run game more. Although, strangely enough, Boston Scott saw more carries last week. That could have just been, the way they entered the game with game plans, and Howard wasn't, just the set of plays that they had ready to go. It involved more Scott than Howard, and just for whatever reason, because Sanders was healthy, but now Sanders is out. So I think they go more Howard. I think Gainwell is sort of just out of the picture at this point for some reason. I'm not even really worried about him. So I still think it's Howard and Scott, and again, I mean, Washington's been sort of gashed against the run lately. The team's just been destroyed. The morale is all down. You can tell, like, they're fighting on the sidelines, throwing punches at each other. So that's pretty fun. Last guy here, dart throw, and this is really only if Mike Williams somehow doesn't return from COVID. But Josh Palmer, I think he's a guy who's pretty popular here, and I'm all in, man. If you've got like a flex and you're getting, you've got sort of a meh player as your wide receiver 3 or whatever, go for it, man. Josh Palmer's done nothing but perform every time he's been given a chance without either Keenan Allen or Mike Williams. So I say absolutely throw him in, but only if one of those two miss. if they're both in, Palmer is not even a factor. And then just real quick, because I know we've gone kind of long here, just some of my defensive streamers for top 4 teams who are rostered 50% or less, and this was sleeper that I looked at. Philly against Washington, who just doesn't look interested in playing football right now. We've got the Colts versus Vegas. Vegas just they look terrible, and the Colts, man, they're playing pretty good D lately, not gonna lie. New England versus Jacksonville. I know I'm just talking about Gunabawale, but like that's not much of a, hey, hey, here's you're going to get 25 points out of him, but it's a safer floor type of play here. And then New Orleans versus Carolina. I'm actually shocked to see New Orleans rostered under 50%. They've been killing it. Yeah. The defense is literally the only reason why they had even a remote chance on Sunday night.
Yeah. Monday night,
sorry.
Yeah.
And with a 4th string quarterback that looked like he didn't belong in college. It was bad. So, now they get to go against Sam Darnold, who's now been announced the starter for Carolina. And, no CMC. Like, New Orleans is going to get tons and tons of sacks, in my opinion. I almost kind of wish it was Cam Newton, because Cam Newton likes to throw picks and, fumble a lot. So, there you go. But,
yeah.
I know you're asking if we can skip it, but I don't want to.
I don't think. I don't want to.
Yeah, let's do this anyway. So I wanted to, and I threw this out on Twitter. Some of our sob stories, whatever you want to call them, right, of getting knocked out of the playoffs this year, and like, look, we don't usually do this because it's just whatever, right? It happens, but this year just feels different, right? This year, like, we've all been randomly, Saturday night, X player removed because of COVID, and you're scrambling, to find a replacement for Travis Kelce, right? I mean, like, that's the big one that happened this last week. We knew he was out, but like, you were hoping he was going to come back, and he just didn't. So everybody's going like, oh crap. Oh, I guess I'll throw in Cole Kmet. That's a difference of 25 points. Like, it's insane. So, like I've mentioned my Scott Fishbowl one. It literally would have gotten worse in week 16 had I even made it past week 15, because I would have lost Eckler. I would have lost somebody else too. It was just like, fine, just put me out of my misery early. I guess I didn't need to go through week 16. Yeah. So that one sucks. But like week 15, same thing. Injuries killed Brady that week, and so I got crushed there. So like a whole bunch of things. It's my wife. She played the number 1 team in our home league, who had Brady, who we all know last week didn't do awful, but didn't do what Brady's usually doing, right? Because he only had Antonio Brown and Gronk. Also, by the way, had Fournette on his team on IR, Kelce on his team on COVID IR. I think there was somebody else on his team too, right? And my wife goes into the Monday night game down 50 plus. I'm looking at her team and I'm like, whoa, wait, you're relying on a bunch of Miami Dolphins to give you 50 plus points? No, I get New Orleans is down to their 4th string quarterback, but like the offense is not good enough, and Miami's D is not going to do that good.
No, their D was
fucking like awesome, 25 or 26 points for Miami's defense. Tua put up like 12. Waddle puts up 20, and Gaskins gives her like 2 points. It's like 56 something points. She wins by like 4, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, that was crazy. And then Scott John Witt, who writes for Fantasy Six Pack, lost last week because he played Hurts over Dak, lost by less than a point, and not only did he make that decision, which was probably the right decision, to be honest with you. I mean, if you looked at the matchups, like, I know Washington was terrible against the pass, but like, Hurts was the better. Hurts was the right play in my opinion.
Yeah.
But not only that, all he needed was a sack, a turnover, or a 3-and-out on the Saints' last drive to win the game, to win his matchup. So he just like burned on the last one. And then I think I got this one twice, but somebody tweeted it, and then I think they deleted it, and then I think they like resent it later. But basically, it was like the same one twice. They were down. They were up by like 50 something. So almost the same scenario as the Miami thing with my wife. But they were up by like 50 something. Sunday night, they go into the game. The dude had Dak, Zeke, and Dallas defense, and they lost by 2 points. Like, just unbelievable stories, man. I've got more. If you want to click on that link, man, you can read some of these. Scroll through the.
And if I haven't clarified my own.
Oh enough, yes, your own snafu.
I missed out on the championship in our Maryland Crab Cake Invitational League, which would have set us up facing each other again. I mean,
not in this league, but we've done it multiple times in other leagues: baseball, football, basketball.
Yes, and I lose every time. So this was like my best.
I thought you had a chance, dude, because your team's way better than mine. I was just being lucky.
And I don't even know what I did. I know what I did. I was awake all day and night, but I missed out a couple of points on Wentz, Landry.
Well, that wasn't even it.
Still
it was
in my IR.
And I even messaged you.
You did
Saturday and said
you messaged
you
me
have
and
an
said,
empty wide receiver
plug
spot.
in a wide receiver, and I was like, yeah, I got it. And after I saw your message, I was like, oh shit, I need to pick somebody up. So I went on the waiver wire trying to find everybody who's like worth anything, and I didn't like anybody. So then I totally spaced on it again, went back to it after the 1:00 game started. I will say I was looking at it.
No, you didn't. You actually got Braxton Berrios on waiver. I woke up this Sunday morning to say AJ Applegarth claimed
I did.
Braxton Berrios. And I went, oh good, he did it. And then I didn't even check to see if you put him in your lineup, because I'm like, why the fuck wouldn't you?
Because
of course
I'm
you
an
didn't.
Because of course you should know this by now.
And of course you somehow didn't. So what do you do?
I didn't think that I was going to get him for some odd reason.
Let's just summarize this. So you lost by what? Like
lost
6, 8?
God, I don't.
You lost by 6 or 8. Braxton Berrios got you 12. By the way,
I lost.
You win
108.34 to 117.28. Because I somehow realized, oh shit, I won Braxton Berrios, and oh shit, I didn't start him. Now I'm really scrambling, and I went to pick up Adam Humphries of all people, thinking maybe he'll break out. I don't know, why not?
There was nobody to pick up at that point. It was the Sunday night or the Monday night game.
Everybody that I could have picked up at that point would not have won it for me.
No.
But the guy that I won the waiver claim on would have. So that sucks.
Unbelievable, dude. Unbelievable. And when I saw that, I was like, oh no.
Yeah, me too. And then my other bad beat was going for and these were the only 2 teams that I had in the damn playoffs too, mind you.
And
I
the Kelsey one
both up. Yep. I played Kelsey.
You kept Kelsey in your lineup?
I had, after I'm the one who said, Kelsey's not playing last week. The Dynasty 6-pack league that Mike Tomlin started. I was going up against, where the hell is it? I was going up against Kevin Huo. And I lost 119.3 to 126.7. I had Mahomes to his Brady, Foreman to his Kamara. We're actually right neck and neck. CEH to Miles Sanders. Sanders' injury was like half the points. Metcalf to his Jefferson. I lost a little. Devonta Smith to his Debo, lost like 10. Andrews blew up, but Schultz blew up for him.
So what was the snafu? Like what was the thing that did it?
It was my flex play.
Yeah.
Well, my super flex was Stafford to his Tua. They were about the same. And then my other flex was Myers to his Gallup, about the same. And then my last flex was Travis Kelce, 0 to CeeDee Lamb's.
And you had Rex Burkhead sitting on your bench. That's the one.
And I had Rex Burkhead with a 28.9 sitting on my bench.
Yeah.
Also had Jamal Williams with a 7.7.
Anything.
And O'Shaughnessy with an 8.9, and Morneau.
So basically anything.
Or Moreau.
Yeah. So I want to rip through some of these other stories. Let's get moving here. So another fantasy six-pack writer, Garrett Ball, third highest scoring team in the league, and a win in your situation. The worst week of my season and just missed the playoffs. So that stinks. I don't know what happened there, but I mean that sucks, man. Yeah, there's the up 52 points. Had Schultz, and he had Dak, Zerline, Dallas, D, lost by 2. Oh, I wrote down the names wrong. That was the original one earlier. I copied it earlier. I guess he redid it, and that's why I got it different. This one kills me. Week 15, first round exit. Now just listen to this team. Tom Brady, Joe Mixon, Cordell Patterson, Justin Jefferson, Brandon Cooks, Michael Pittman, Dallas Goedert, Hunter Renfrow, and the Bills D. He lost with that team in Week 15. I mean, but that's what happened. Week 15, Tom Brady was awful. Joe Mixon was awful.
Yeah.
Pittman was terrible. Renfrow was bad. The only players that went off for him, why he even had a shot in hell, I'm guessing, is Brandon Cooks had 30. Goddard had 20. Everybody else was so terrible. He only scored 96 points. That team, like, that's what happened. Things went completely upside down in Week 15, and like all these teams that probably should have advanced after Week 15 didn't, and so it just completely shook things up. And then somebody threw out Kelce, put up a 5-point game. That was that multiple weeks in a row, and then had one good game. They got COVID. Had a 75% chance to win going into Sunday Night Football, going against Dak, Zeke, and Schultz. I mean, there we go. He scored 7 touchdowns. There you go. I just love this one. Everyone on my team had COVID. Yeah, pretty much.
Well, that was my matchup with Flo. It was like he had Kamara and Tua as his Monday, but then he had Gallup, Lamb, and Schultz on Sunday, and it was like, fuck.
Oh man!
So they just caught him back up, and I was like,
Kamara. I mean, those guys, Tua and Kamara didn't really do much of anything. It was all the Sunday guys.
No,
Ravens' historically bad defense performance had Higgins and Mixon combined for 81. That's I like Bronx Daily.
Wow.
At _J2DH_. I benched Higgins for AB. That sucks, but honestly, that probably was the right play. I mean, AB being like the wide receiver 1 for that team. At Salmon Taha 05, Henderson over Sony Week 15, lost by 2. Ooh. You didn't use our rankings because I would not have suggested that, but that sucks. I'll say that one for last because that's my favorite one. At Chris Gerald, missed the playoffs by 0.08 to a guy I beat in the regular season. The points scored as a tiebreaker is the number 1. I feel like that's a pretty normal way to do it, but still sucks. Like when you lose, you don't get to the playoffs by 0.808 points, but tiebreaker by overall points is absolutely the way to do it because head to head is so fluky, in my opinion. So, someone just said J Rob and Lamar at Robo BSC, and then my absolute favorite story or just comment to this whole thing is at Indio Bear. I'm stupid and make bad decisions.
Hi, how you doing?
Welcome to have you met my co-host AJ Applegarth? You guys would be best friends.
Yeah.
So,
Did we just become best friends?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was a good one. So, anyway, man, let's get through these injuries and then do our DFS picks and close things out for the year.
Yes.
So injuries here. So we've got Mr. Lamar, questionable with the ankle, limited practice, but apparently he had a pronounced limp. So still kind of up in the air. His running mate Tyler Huntley, questionable. He was out with COVID this past week. He's expected to be back at practice tomorrow.
Bring back Flacco. Bring back Flacco. Isn't he on another team? I don't know.
He was with the Jets. They traded for him. Remember that crap?
I do, because it was with the Eagles.
You guys got like a 5th round pick out of that. How?
Damn right.
That's the stupidest thing ever. Jared Goff, questionable with
Eagles
a knee.
fucked
Did
the
not.
Jets twice this year.
Jared Goff, questionable with a knee. Didn't practice today. Taysom Hill, as I mentioned, is expected to be back from COVID IR. Justin Fields is questionable with an ankle injury. Teddy Bridgewater, questionable, probably more doubtful, honestly, with that concussion. I think they've already announced that a lock is going to start. And then Derek Carr is dealing with sore ribs. He's questionable. Sounds like he'll play, but, anything could change at any moment here. James Conner, questionable with a heel. He remains day to day. Kareem Hunt is questionable with an ankle. Didn't practice on Tuesday. CEH, it's week to week. And as I said, he's probably out. Miles Sanders is out with that broken hand. Elijah Mitchell's questionable. Limited practice Wednesday, so trending in the right direction at least. So we just have to hope he doesn't get swelling like he did previous week, where he got called out on Saturday. DeAndre Swift is questionable shoulder, expected to be back Sunday against the Seahawks. So, that pretty much means Reynolds is out of the picture because it's going to go back to Swift and Williams. The real question here for me is, what does this do for Amon-Ra St. Brown? And, I asked this because it's something Dave Eddy brought up last week, where it's like, that those Amon-Ra St. Brown games were when Swift and Williams were kind of both out, or at least one of them was. And so it's just like, when this offense is cooking, right, and when they're healthy, even a lot of the passing work goes through the running backs. Now, they're still missing Hawkinson. Yeah. So can Amon-Ra St. Brown still continue this, just crazy good finish of the season with Swift and Williams back?
I think he can. Again, with Goff being questionable, we got to see if he plays. I think if Goff is in and Swift is in, it does limit his ceiling, but I still think he has a safe floor. I think he's going to get enough targets to be usable. I don't expect the same amount of output that he's had the past few weeks where he's blown up, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the mid to high teens for fantasy points, depending on your PPR versus half setup.
Yeah. Now, I've got another question for you about the next player that we're talking about here on injury. And, if he plays Saquon Barkley, he is questionable right now with an ankle injury. He didn't practice today. But let's say he plays. Man, if you somehow made it this far with Saquon Barkley in your lineup, and I'm going to be honest with you, man, my wife's one of them. I even told her before last week, I was like, you might want to put somebody else in for Saquon. He's not playing well. Are you with me? Find anybody else at this point with a higher ceiling than Saquon. I love Saquon's talent. It's not happening this year for him. That offense is dreadful. No. He doesn't look healthy. It's just, come on. Booker looks faster than him right now. It's crazy.
And when Booker's been given the lion's share of the carries, he's been awesome.
Would you even go as far as play
Barkley-esque?
Would you go as far to play Ogunbowale over him? Guys like that are going to get work?
I don't hate it.
I might, man. I really
Chicago's
might.
not a great matchup,
Trying to look at
regardless. So
Chicago over, the last few weeks against the run here. So let me look at it. So, by the way, I want to give shout out to this site. FF Today, they have fantasy points against. You can break it down by last 3 weeks, last 5 weeks, half PPR, PPR. Fantastic. I sadly had forgotten about this site throughout the entire season and found it today. It was like, oh my God. So I've been looking for all year. So bookmarked it, thankfully. So yeah, let's see here. I want to look at you said the Bears?
Bears, yeah.
The Bears. They're 14th over the last 5 weeks against the run. I'm trying to see if they played like Jonathan Taylor or something. Gotta see that. I mean, look, they did just allow 20 points of a shot penny. Aaron Jones in week 14, 18. Swift gave him, or Connor got 17 in week 13. So yeah, I mean they've allowed some points.
Solid running backs though too. I mean,
Dalvin Cook only 9, but it's
maybe that's the one I was thinking of. I was like, I knew that they just shut somebody pretty good down.
I don't know though, man. Something about Saquon just wants me to like.
I don't like Saquon this week. I mean, I don't really like Booker this week either. But
the offense is just so pathetic for the Giants right now. Sorry, Keith.
Suck it, Giants. Sorry, we had to get one more in for the last.
Can we find the clips of all of these digs at the Giants and just clip them all together and just send them to Keith? This would be hilarious. It's going to be all 17 weeks, by the way.
It's mostly going to be me just sucking.
Of course it is, but it's still funny.
Oh yeah, sucking Keith.
I don't know.
It's all injuries too.
I mostly. Yeah, I just have a tough time starting him. I really do. There's guys you can pick up that I think have, look, the rankings may not say that on any site, but man, if you need to go for it, I think sitting Saquon in favor of like, even like a Jordan Howard could potentially be the way to go. I just really despise this Giants offense right now, and Saquon's not making it.
What about
better.
Darren Oglalaboy or however?
We just said that. I would probably do it.
Where the fuck have you been, bro?
Just making sure.
Drinking that cherry drink or whatever you're drinking.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
delicious. You got the Sam Adams cherry wheat. Ha!
Cherry McGillicuddy.
Cherry McGillicuddy?
That's a fantastic name, by the way.
It's pretty funny, actually, because I went to school with a girl named Carrie McGillicuddy.
Anyway.
All right, so let's go to the receivers. Manny Sanders, questionable limited practice on Wednesday with this knee injury. Hey, he's been surpassed at this point. Nobody cares. Brandon Cooks is questionable with illness, did not practice Wednesday. That is something to keep an eye on. Mm-hmm. Mike Williams, who we already mentioned earlier, is COVID IR, but he could be back by Sunday. Thielen is sadly done for the year with an ankle injury. Mike Evans,
my crab cake.
Finals. Yes. Mike Evans is out on the COVID IR. And Jamison Crowder is questionable. He did not practice Wednesday with a calf, so keep an eye on that. Kelsey is questionable, but he is on track to get off of the COVID IR. Thanks for that. A week late. Darren Waller, shocker to everybody. IR, knee, my back. Season is over. Fantastic. Great.
By the way, I mentioned this earlier about how my team in Crab Cake, right, has lost my picks 2 through 7. I'm not even kidding you. Calvin Ridley, Gus Edwards, that was like a day after we drafted, by the way. Robert Woods, now Adam Thielen, but I lost him a couple weeks ago, got him back for a quarter. Mike Davis, I mean, I've lost him. I lost him in week 1 because he was a total bust. And then Juju Smith-Schuster. How in the living hell am I in the finals?
And I have Mike Davis on my team.
It doesn't matter. You can have Mike Davis. He sucks.
He does, but he helped me when I grabbed him, and he was my shot in the dark for playoff phenomenons. So
literally, though, like only because you guys let Jalen Hurts fall to me in round 11. Did I think I survive anything in this league? I've picked up. I mean, and you're hearing my running backs. I'm starting like
you
trash.
Survived the second halves of games because the first halves you're like, fucking hurt.
Oh, I don't know. I literally don't watch my fantasy scores. I'm in too many leagues. I just can't do it. But yeah. But again, just another example of how upside down this year has been. I have made the finals with that team. I'm starting Russell Gage, and sometimes I don't even know who I'm starting.
Yeah,
like, let's put it that way. Like it's chaos.
Frere is questionable
I wish.
Concussion.
Him.
That's all we got for injuries. So. All right, let's go with some DFS.
Yes, sir.
Frickin'
DraftKings, baby. All right, man. So, starting off here with my stack plays of the week. And, I mean, you've just got to start right away with that Buffalo passing attack, right? It's got to go Allen and Diggs. And, look, I know Diggs hasn't quite blown up as often as we want this year, but this is a primo matchup for them. They play the Falcons. Look, Allen is 8,000, the most expensive quarterback on the slate. Diggs is 7,900, the fourth most expensive receiver on the slate. So it's going to cost you, but I still think it's worth it. If this is this isn't like exactly what I'm gonna do, but like this is a direction to go in. Another stack that I really, really like, and I don't know, could potentially do more. It actually will cost you more because of the price of Cooper Kupp, but it's Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp, and they're playing Baltimore, who they are atrocious against any sort of passing. If Washington hasn't, they've been bad, against the pass, but the Ravens have been far worse.
Yeah, it's like
lately.
Washington's
Ever since they've just been decimated.
Baltimore's like, hold my beer.
Yeah.
Hold my keg.
No, actually, over the last 5 games, the Ravens have allowed the second most points to pass to receivers. Washington 7th. So both not good, but the Ravens have been decimated by injuries ever since that Pittsburgh game, and so that's why
since the beginning of the season, if you want to get technical.
They allow a lot of yards, but
in general, ball.
And they're both 2 and 3 over the last 5 weeks against quarterbacks. So, again, I love this matchup for Stafford and Kupp. I unfortunately am playing Stafford. Thanks, Scott, for having him. Go COVID.
Thanks,
sorry.
Braxton
it's like the one time I want
Berrios.
COVID to hit. But no,
Thanks,
that would
Braxton
suck.
Berrios.
Yeah, but right? I could be playing him instead. Who I have
Braxton
like all
Berrios owners.
I don't really have any other stacks that I was like super excited about here. I mean, obviously go like Mahomes and Hill, that's kind of an obvious one. I kind of staying away from the Brady one just because, Tampa Bay could just run the ball in that game. Staying away from Burrow. I'm not chasing the points there. He's been up and down. I don't want to play Herbert against Denver. Denver's been pretty solid, and I'm not paying for that. You could go Dak. I know Arizona has been pretty good, but that game's got a huge over/under. So like Vegas is expecting a lot of points there.
It's in Dallas,
and it's in Dallas, so
plays very well in Dallas.
And they've been playing better lately, so I don't mind that as much.
Dak,
I'll tell you what, the one
Schultz.
The one I
be-
really like,
be
and
nice.
it's not a stack. It's literally, you can play him, what's considered naked, Jalen Hurts.
Woo.
And I don't mean sit on your couch naked and play Jalen Hurts. I mean, you're going to play Jalen Hurts without stacking him.
Sit on your couch naked and do it till it hurts.
Oh, AJ, did not need to go there.
Sorry, I've been drinking.
So yeah, Jalen Hurts by himself against Washington is a great play in my opinion. I mean, look, I know Devonta Smith had a great game against them a couple of weeks ago, but I'm not expecting that again. Devonta Smith is kind of up and down. He's very unpredictable what he can do. Actually, no, sorry, he didn't have the good game. Who was that?
No,
Goddard?
no, it was Goddard had it.
Goddard had it.
Wait, was that the?
No.
Yeah, that was the.
Who the hell?
That was the mustache game.
No, it wasn't.
Yes,
No,
it
because
was.
Hurts had
Nope.
all the.
Or no, that was the Jets. Sorry.
I'm looking at it now. Jalen Hurts had 29.64 DK points. Because he ran for 2 touchdowns. That's what
He
it was.
ran
Yeah.
for 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. So again, I
yeah,
think Hurts
I was
by
already
himself-
talking about this.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I think he can be a
3
good play.
touchdowns.
Some other kind of a lone place here. I like Trey Lance, 4,800 against Houston. I mean, for DK, like that's almost like that's probably who I'm going with at good quarterback.
Yeah.
Is Trey Lance. I'm just gonna do it and pay up everywhere for everybody else, including my running back, number 1 on my board for value wise. Not value play, but like as far as like price versus expected points. It's Ronald Jones. He gets the Jets. We've already said it. They're the worst team by far against the run. This is going to probably be a game where Tom Brady's just going to go, I don't need to do much. Just go. And just get him the ball and just go run.
Run.
I kind of like any of these Cincy wide receivers, by the way. I know I just said I didn't really love Burrow as much. I'm not going to chase the points, but I think they're going to have to pass to keep up with KC. And so they're all 70, Chase is 76. That's kind of high on that. Again, Chase has sort of been, he hasn't really, he had a couple of games here and there where he's been really good. Higgins is 69, Boyd's 54. I think I kind of want at least one of those guys if I can pay for him. Which one do you like most?
I kind of like Higgins.
Yeah. He's been
I
killing
mean,
it, man.
it's
It really has been.
It's middle of the road. He's obviously the difference between him and Boyd versus him and Chase is, lower, but I think he's going to be the go-to. He has been the last couple of weeks, so I don't hate it.
Yeah. I mean, I think if I'm strapped for cash in DK, I'm fine with Boyd, but I'm kind of with you. I'd probably go more the Higgins route because I really want to get somebody I really want to get Kupp. I think Kupp's you just sort of had to figure out how to get him in there. And as much as I said I don't really want to play Brady, I do kind of want to see how I could fit in like an Antonio Brown. At 6,100, I still think that's pretty cheap as Tom Brady's number 1 target. It could be a run-heavy game, as I alluded to. But, if I wouldn't want to use Jones and Brown. But, like, if I can't get Jones in somehow, say, like, Jones has to be my flex, and maybe I don't have 6,300, but I have 6,100, fine. I'm fine with Antonio Brown. He saw a crap ton of targets last week, and he should have because he's the only healthy player on that team. So, I saw, 15 targets? It's crazy. He just didn't catch a touchdown, or it would have been an absolute monster of a game. He caught 10 for 101.
Still a monster game.
It wasn't, but I mean, it would have been like
it would have been
all would have been
unbelievable.
it would have been like an AJ Brown talking about game type of thing.
Yeah.
Like, he scored 35 points, and now everybody's like, "Oh, AJ Brown's awesome again."
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he is, but let's be real. 34.5 points ain't happening. And then again, I like Sony Michel. I told you earlier. I still, only 5,800. I think that's a really good price for him. The workload's going to be huge. I don't care if Akers is active or not. Sony Michel should be in a lot of your lineups at 5,800.
Yeah.
So
So fade wise, I mean, we got to go with Patterson here. 6,900 versus Buffalo. Yeah, Buffalo's been giving up some points to the run, but you know, I think Patterson's workload the last couple of weeks is dropping for some reason, and I hate to pat myself on the back here about talking up Mike Davis in the playoffs for fantasy.
Not like
but
Mike Davis done anything either. But anyway.
He hasn't. But
he has still been worse.
I think that Patterson's finally realizing, wait, I'm Cordero Patterson. I'm not this good this long, or never have been.
Ever.
So I might need to slow it down. 6,900, a little bit much. Mark Andrews, 7,400. I mean, that's steep for Andrews. I mean, yes, his output has been phenomenal all year long.
Carried some mofos to the playoffs, including Richard in our fantasy six-pack league.
Yep,
Richard.
But
sorry, I'm not rooting
Rams
for you, man. Sick of you winning our league.
Been one of the best defenses against the tight end in the last 5 weeks. So I still think Andrews will be okay. I don't think he's worth paying that much up for.
Absolutely not.
You can spend your money elsewhere, like we've already talked about, and be better off. Russell Gage at 5,600. Yeah, no thanks. DJ Moore, 5,600.
Yeah.
Against the Saints. Nope.
You're going to get Lattimore, dude.
Yeah.
No thanks.
Not happening.
Most likely you're going to get Lattimore. So, yeah, not going to happen. So, all right, a couple of value plays here. And I had a few more. I had to scratch them off my board when some injury news came out. But I would look. I probably should scratch this one off too. I forgot I put it on there. But I guess read the news, read whatever you're gonna say. But like, kind of, you could take a guess as to whoever you think could be the wide receiver 2 for the Bills. They're all super cheap. I want to say they're all under. Let me find the Bills game here. I think they're all 4,100 or cheaper.
Yeah, I was gonna say
they're still super cheap. Yeah, sorry. Gabe Davis is 5,000. Beasley's 49. Isaiah McKenzie is 43, and Emmanuel Sanders is 42. They're still pretty cheap. So like at the end of your roster, like if you just need a cheap upside guy, like I could go Gabe Davis at $5,000. I could go Beasley as a cheap PPR play at 40, whatever, 49. It's not. I think it's okay. I think Gabe Davis has the higher ceiling because I think he can take the roof off, and he's just, especially when everybody was hurt and on COVID, I think he proved that he can be the guy, which is kind of why
he had a huge week last week, though. So
yeah. I still don't think he's gonna be. Yeah, I don't think he's the guy to go get. Honestly, I really don't. I think he drops to 4th or 5th on this pecking order. I think Ogunbowale at 5,100 against New Orleans is fairly cheap for running backs. There's not a lot of super cheap running backs this week that I like unless some news comes out. But at this point of the game on Wednesday night, that's probably one of the better values for running back. But again, there's just not much out there unless you're trying to go out and get like a Tevin Coleman against Tampa. No, just kidding. You're not.
No.
Exactly. Again, mentioned it earlier. Palmer for the Chargers. If Big Mike is out, 3,600, super duper cheap.
Nice.
And then I know I said I don't really like Devonta Freeman, but this is right there with Ogunbowale. Like I'd still sort of flipping the coin on that one. I like Ogunbowale a little bit more. But look, if Lamar does play, Freeman might be the better option, I'll be honest, because, you got to think about the games where Freeman only saw 6 carries were the games where Lamar didn't play.
Yep.
So that offense could revert back to more of the style that they used before, but I am still a little concerned with the usage that Latavius Murray has been getting the last couple of weeks. Those other weeks, right? We saw Murray getting 1 and 2 carries to where the last couple of weeks he's seen 7 and 5. So I don't like the fact that we're seeing Latavius Murray get mixed back in more, which is why I'm down on Freeman a little bit more. But look, if you're a believer that when Lamar is back, that Freeman goes back to the role he had in weeks 11 or 12 and 13, then 5,100 is the way to go. I'm sort of on the fence with that one, but just something to pay attention to there. But
Yeah.
anyway, man, that's all I got for the show. Anyway, good luck to everybody in week 17 in the championship matchups or third place game matchups. I guess I shouldn't ignore those. Cheers. And you and I should be playing it. You and I should be playing again, man.
Well, I'm still gonna play, and
but what I mean is you and I should be playing against each other again, man.
Yes.
I'm actually kind of pissed at you for making that.
I agree. Well,
snafu.
then you should have checked your lineup for me better than what I did.
So you mean I should be playing for you also?
No,
I don't know you. I thought you, dude. Usually you
put the
are
waiver in. I literally fell asleep.
Usually you make like 50 moves Sunday morning, so I'm used to you like being on top of it.
Holy shit! Yeah, my moves are sporadic. I mean, it doesn't matter. But you put your best lineup in. I'm going to put my best lineup in, and we'll see who scores more points. And if I win the third place matchup with more points than you win the championship with, you owe me a beer.
No.
Yes.
Absolutely not.
That is how it works.
False. Anyway, good night, everybody. Good luck in week 17.
Happy New Year. Shave your balls.
Manscaped. F6P20. Peace.